Hey guys, I'm here with Ty Chase. We're here to talk about his new single that just dropped today, or well, today's December 5th, but this interview will drop a little bit later, but it's available for streaming now. Um, so yeah, Ty, kind of, if you want to tell everybody, what you do and what you're about.
What's up, guys? I'm Ty Chase, and I am a songwriter and an artist. And I am pleased to be here talking with my gracious host, Chloe.
Yeah, nice to meet you, by the way. Heard a
Yes.
lot of good things. So I kind of just wanted to start off and ask if you are a Nashville native or if you're one of the myriad of people that moved to Nashville specifically to make music.
I'm part of the myriad, Chloe. Part of the myriad for sure. I went down in 2013 to go to school at Belmont University, and that was sort of my springboard into the Nashville music community, which treated me so well. And I met some of my best friends to this day. You've talked to the drummers, guys. At least Kirk, I know. I saw his interview with you recently, and I met Nick from Drummers by going, and him as well as many other friends of mine down there. And I'm not there now because of the pandemic. I'm in New Jersey, where I grew up, actually.
Okay.
Which it's been really interesting, as I bet it's been interesting for everyone. Finding ways to make the most out of the pandemic and stay positive and healthy has been a rewarding challenge.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to describe it. And I think, Nashville, a place like Nashville, I think the definition of native is kind of, I don't know. It's a
Right.
kind of nebulous thing because everyone moves there to make music, So how long do you have to live there to be considered a native? I think it's kind of a state of mind,
I think it's born there. That's how I would define it. You're born there. I would feel weird calling myself a native. I lived up until this past June, and that would have been 7 years living there. And
Wow.
while it definitely felt like home in many ways, and still would when I plan on going back, still will when I plan on going back. But it's more about the people, I think, than the place that makes it
Absolutely.
feel like home. But yeah, I wouldn't consider myself a native ever because I was born there. That would feel weird.
Absolutely. What's your favorite part of the Nashville scene?
The people, for sure, the people. I mean, the way that my friends inspire me and people who I see inspire me by seeing those people pursue what they find meaningful, whether it be music, whether it be cooking, whether it be visual art, just the relentless pursuit of what people find meaningful is so inspiring to me. And
Yeah.
when I around that, it's sort of an infectious thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've talked to a lot of people in the Nashville scene over the past several weeks, and you guys have a very supportive community. Where in a lot of places, when you have an underground scene like rock, I mean, not necessarily underground, but Nashville's known for country. So when you have something like rock music that's being made in an environment like that, I think there can be a tendency for competition to kind of erupt in that kind of environment. But you guys are all very supportive of one another is one thing that I've noticed. And I'm sure that breeds a lot of inspiration as far as like what you can bounce ideas off of, or who you can bounce ideas off of. So I thought that was really a fascinating part of the Nashville scene that I've, witnessed as a third party exterior member of. I'm not part of it, but you know what I mean? Just like outside looking in.
You support artists from there. So I think that's all it takes to be a part of it, because without people supporting the artist wouldn't be viable in any regard.
Sure. Well, that's a good way of looking at it. That's very inclusive. Who influences you? I mean, you mentioned you are influenced and inspired by a lot of the people around you in Nashville. So other than your friends and I guess you know, constituents, who else inspires you, or what other artists inspire you?
Well, I'll tell you, Chloe, the first band that I saw live had a profound impact on me and the course of my life from then on, and that was AC/DC.
All
And John,
right.
the first show that I saw that had a profound impact on me. But along with them, people like the Foo Fighters, people like Jimi Hendrix, as well as I love 90s rap, funnily
Yeah.
enough. You would never think that listening to my music, but I love that. Like Jurassic 5, um, Notorious B.I.G.,
Mhm.
Tupac, NWA, love them. James Brown. Oh, James Brown is so good. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't listen to James Brown and not bust a move. You know what I mean? You got to
That's so
bust a move
funny.
with Brown.
Me and my brother were listening to James Brown the other day. We both work from home and we do like this super boring office job. I hope my boss
Mhm.
doesn't watch this interview and hear me call it super boring. Um, but
Shout out.
we were just sitting there and just like listening to James Brown, like grooving in our living room, you know. It's
That's right.
it's infectious. You got to do it. Um, what's
Like,
been the most
little,
challenging part? Oh, go ahead.
I just said Little Richard as well.
Oh
He
yeah,
had
absolutely.
a very similar effect on me when I listen to his music.
Oh yeah, we have R&B dance parties all day. What's
I'm
been
about
the go on. What's the most challenging part um of making music this year? 'Cause I know a lot of people have dropped singles during this year, which is really cool. But what's been the most challenging part of continuing to produce and release music?
well, I am definitely grateful that I held off on releasing a lot of music, particularly Wake Up. Like I released that today, but I recorded it with my friend Reggie Eklund. Um, Shout out Reggie. He's a dear friend of mine who was an integral part of it. He was a engineer as well as a producer, and he got us comp studio time to record it with. It was I went in with me and my friend Noah Miller on drums. Shout out Noah, total badass on the drums. He has his own band called Down Boy, and they are fantastic. One of my favorite songs with them called Under the Light. Little plug for Down Boy. Uh, so I went in with them, and that was January of 2018
Oh
that we
wow, okay.
at least the bare tracks of Wake Up as well as Inhale, the first single that I released. And so they were by no means made during the pandemic. And I'm
Right.
really glad that I took the time to make those songs and not put them out until I did now. And I'm glad that I had those in the barrel
Yeah,
for this time because I mean it takes a team for sure to
absolutely.
that's how I love to work. Um, the biggest challenge of making music now for me, I would say, is finding things to stay enthusiastic about within the scope of every song, you know, because that enthusiasm is the thing that keeps me driven to complete the song as well as to go through the whole exercise of promoting it, marketing it, releasing it,
For sure.
let alone just finishing the song itself.
Right.
So I'd say that as well as staying away from comparing myself to other people. I mean, social media, I think, I mean, I put a lot of the, well, you know what, I take the blame. It's really all my fault that I ever compare myself to other people, but there's definitely things in our world that lead us to that
Oh yeah,
comparison.
it's a
Like,
human inclination.
totally.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
whenever I find myself in that mindset of starting to compare myself to someone, I always have to like pull the reins back and say, like, Tyler, you got your own story to tell, you got your own gifts to give. So honor those by focusing on them.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. And I think right now it's especially difficult because it's always everyone's tendency to look and see what someone else is doing and be like, God, like, why am I not doing that or whatever?
Totally.
But now we're so isolated from one another. You'd think it'd be easier to not compare yourself to other people because you're not out around other people all the time, but it's not. You're just at home thinking about like why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing this? So I can imagine, like you said, staying enthusiastic about the projects you're working on is so difficult. Um, but I think,
Mhm.
having artists in this time is also so important for the rest of us. And I'm a writer, but I'm not published, obviously. I'm a hobbyist. But I think, for me, what I've been able to lean on during the pandemic is, you know, who's putting out music, who's putting out poetry or, visual art or whatever, and kind of just, take joy from that. And so I think people like you and people like, all creators in this time are so important, just for keeping the rest of us afloat and keeping morale, at an acceptable level. So we're not all just super bummed out. Um, so I'm really grateful, for people like you guys and for having the opportunity to kind of pick your brains about what it's been like for your creative process. Um, what's been,
And I'm grateful for you
yeah, oh,
for
well, hey, this is such a heartwarming moment.
that combo.
What's been the most rewarding part of 2020, which might be hard because this has been a hard year, but
You one, isn't it? Thing part about 2020. I would say recognize the rewards that come with persistence, because during the pandemic, I found myself, as well as I imagine all of us have, in difficult situations that I didn't foresee, some of them being the most difficult that I've faced in my life so far. And I'm a faith driven person. So holding on to my faith and recognizing, like, hey, this is only temporary. Like, this too shall pass, the old saying.
Absolutely.
Focusing on that has definitely led me to persist and focus on the things that I'm going to be glad that I focused on once this
Absolutely.
is all over. Like
Yeah.
the music, like cultivating relationships with people like you, with other artist friends of mine as well. Recognizing that, yeah, we're in a pandemic right now, but if I've learned anything from this time, is that we can make all the plans that we want, but we never know what's going to happen. We never know when a global pandemic's going to hit, and it's going to throw a huge wrench in all our plans. So focusing on the things that will last after the pandemic is exactly what I'll thank myself for.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think, like they say, life's what happens while you're making other plans. But I think it's forced everyone to look a little more big picture, which I know is a challenge for me because I either look way big picture or like very fine detailed, way zoomed in. So having this experience for me has been a challenge to kind of, live day to day and focus on how what I'm doing fits into the greater aspect of how things are going to be. Um, and I think I've seen that a lot in my friends that are making music. It's inspired my friends that are writers, my friends that are artists to kind of challenge their perspective. So I definitely see that as being a catalyst for new points of view going forward in music. Um, but
What's it been
yeah,
like?
sorry, can you repeat that? We kind of cut out.
Yeah, yeah. What's it been like as a writer for you?
For me, so the reason I'm interviewing you right now is so I took a year off of school because it was a health related issue and I was just basically I got really sick and I couldn't go to school. And so this year happened and I was already had decided I was going to take a year off of school and I was like, "Man, this sucks. I can't go anywhere. I'm immunocompromised, so I'm like stuck in my house." And
Same.
back in like September, I messaged my friend and I was like, I want to do music journalism. and I wanted to do music journalism since I was in high school, and I just didn't because, you know, a lot of people told me I couldn't make money doing it or whatever. And I was like, I don't care. I'm sitting at home. I might as well. And so for me as a writer, I switched over from, I was mainly writing like poetry and like short form free verse and stuff. And then all of a sudden I was doing music reviews. Um, so being stuck at home actually has challenged me to actually do the things that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I think it's been that for a lot of people.
And for sure.
Thank you. Um, so let's see. I got a couple more questions. I'm trying to keep good pacing for time. So what can you tell us about your new single that dropped today for people that haven't heard it yet? I listened to it last night and I thought it was stellar, but I wanted to hear your perspective on it.
Well, it's called Wake Up. I wrote it because I was inspired by a number of events in my life where I was faced with just conceit and ignorance from people in power. Um, we've seen that time and time again. People who put profit ahead of the global community, ahead of people's lives. And I guess I'm just grateful that I've learned at the age of 26 that there's things that are more important than money and material wealth and success, and community being one of them, interpersonal relationships being one of them, and recognizing that when I die, the relationships are going to be the thing that last beyond that, not my material wealth. So people who have so much material wealth already, putting more wealth, achieving more wealth ahead of people who are suffering and people who uh, clearly need attention and love. That really inspired this song for me, because seeing that, it's just like you just want to like shake these people, because it's like it's a heartbreaking thing to see. And so I'm grateful that I was able to extract a joyful, somewhat sounding song out of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is I think you really bottled that concept of, I think a lot of people, especially like you said, uh, wealthy people and people that are in positions of power, they have the luxury to be able to look away and not see this kind of thing going on around them. Whereas like people like you and me, I can't go 2 blocks without seeing somebody begging for money because they can't afford their rent or they can't afford food or they can't afford their medicine, and I'm well off compared to those people, and it's, I think like you said, it's there's a huge disparity between what those people have and what the least of us have, and having the luxury to look away from that is a luxury. And I think when you create a piece of media like your song, it kind of forces people to be like, hang on, maybe I need to look at what's going on over here. But like you said, it is also a very joyful piece of music. Like I want to put it on in my car and just jam out. It's great driving music for sure.
Thank you.
That's one thing I miss is actually, I never thought I'd say this. I miss my commute to work because I had like a 40-minute commute and I would just jam the whole time. And now I'm like, I guess I gotta go drive nowhere so I can listen to some tunes.
But you can have the jam in your house now.
Yeah, I can just jam out in my room.
That's something that I recognized through quarantine that really fills me up, is just putting on a song that I love, whether it be James Brown or Little Richard or someone who just makes joyful music, and just busting a move,
Absolutely.
just dancing for myself is it just fills me up.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
things.
I love it. I think music and dance are such quintessential parts of being a human, and it was one of our oldest art forms. So I applaud that. I dance while I'm cooking. I always dance in the kitchen, which is probably dangerous, but
music and cooking and dance. That's a full evening there.
It's a winning combo. All right. Well, when can we expect more from you? I know we just got a single today, but when can your greedy public expect more?
It's in the works. I'll leave it with that.
Okay, mysterious. I like it. It builds suspense.
Absolutely.
Cool, cool. Well, that's about time for us. Do you want to plug social media? And I know you've got a couple of videos up on YouTube as well.
Yeah, you can find me on Ty Chase Music. You can find the single on my Bandcamp or anywhere you stream music. And the Bandcamp is tychase.bandcamp.com. And Chloe, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Hey,
As I, on behalf of the Nashville community, when I say thank you for providing us with a platform and to talk about our music, and for providing us with questions. And your interest and passion is something that I appreciate.
hey, that means so much. Thank you so much. Bandit appreciates you so much. And hopefully we'll be looking forward to talking to you soon. Maybe the next single, maybe when you drop an album. Who knows?
Maybe.
Thank you.
Thanks. See